Hello, everybody. Facebook Live. It's Patxi from Celebration Sea Foundation. I'm here with my dear friend Victor Nappe, and we are in his man cave.
Man cave.
Now, I know a lot of you are looking at this and seeing this beautiful riptide curl behind us, right?
Beautiful ocean.
We're actually green screening.
Yes, exactly.
I wish to God you hear like the surf coming in. We should have done the surf, right? Yeah. And watch the language. This is PG down here.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah.
He said the S word. We didn't mean that. Okay, good.
No,
But we are actually at Victor's studio. And what's the address here? Like we're in the middle of Boca,
in
Pompano Beach.
I wish you were Boca.
Close, yeah.
I like the way you think.
So this location, although they see this beautiful blue water and the ocean behind us, green screen.
Correct.
We are in the beautiful, in Pompano Beach. A shout out to Rick Green from the Chamber. Like mover and shaker extraordinaire, and our dear friend Rick Green in the Chamber. Go Terry and Rick and Tim. We love Pompano.
Oh, Pompano's, that's why I'm
And
here.
before we even get there, you guys, this whole thing going on the ocean with the redevelopment and the pier.
Yeah.
Tell everybody what's happening here, because this city is like
Pompano's been
rocking.
exploding. I met Patxi 15 years ago or something. Not dating us, but when I moved down from the Northeast, and I was down in Miami and just kind of looked all around and said, where do I want to be? And I fell in love with Pompano. And been here and just watching the growth and what's going on in Pompano. It's
very
a growing
special city.
Yeah, it's a great city.
And they're moving. Lamar, the mayor, all these lovely people, and Tommy, all the Shipwreck Park with our good friends Roy Rogers, not the cowboy, but the rock star. We love Roy. So all this is going on. This is an amazing community. But we're here to talk about a couple things. So first of all, we are on the road to Riptide. So Victor is helping us with all this Facebook Live stuff that we're testing today. Victor was kind enough to rip his whole gallery apart and cables and toys, and we're testing some cool stuff today to bring a very special pal who's actually not driving his car. He's sitting in his office, right, John? Stand by, John.
Yeah, I'm sitting in my office.
But we're on the road to Riptide, and part of what Riptide is doing is bringing the world's finest. I mean, you talk about really cool science and really cool education in STEM, trying to get kids excited about STEM careers, science, technology, engineer. When you talk about STEM, we actually say STREAM. We kind of stretch it a little bit. Because STEM, can I test you? Do you know what that?
The arts.
Ooh, good. Okay.
Come on, Pi.
Do you know what all the
I'm on the STEAM committee for FAU.
A STEAM committee.
Johnny's already chiming in.
Wow,
okay.
John, I like it. It's this speaker coming out of nowhere.
Right. Okay, hold on, John, because you know this stuff. You're a super scientist with FAU. Let's see if Victor can.
No,
so
I'm
what does STEM stand for? First of all, STEM. Do you know?
Science, technology, engineering. Math.
Oh, yeah, high five.
See?
You win the microwave. Okay.
I wasn't done. I was going to keep adding a few
so
other acronyms.
STREAM, you added the arts.
I was going to try to, because that's
and we got to plug our friend Weiland with these shirts in a second, but the art's so important, right?
Yeah.
So we also take the liberty of throwing an R in there for recreation. So when you think about kids, to get them excited, moving, exploring, because I know you and the drones, every time you're sending me some cool picture, you're out in or on the water, under the water, doing super cool stuff. So to get the kids, maybe for a minute, to put the phones down, to get out there and explore the parks, the natural beauty, all the stuff. We used to come back all waterlogged. We were exploring and digging stuff up and going to get those kids back out there.
Getting out in the, I do that Indian Princess program, which is dads and daughters, and we go camping.
Whoa.
And you know all that.
Go ahead.
And all it is we have one rule.
Wish we had a slide for that. Go ahead.
I know. Yeah, it's get off your phones. It's sit around and go out and play. And we go
put
camping.
the phone down.
Put the phone down and go and enjoy and be
with
be
parents and kids together.
Dads and daughters, dads and sons, different.
Great.
It's great. The camping, like you said. So I've been such a proponent of this for so long. So
we're doing a whole other segment on that. I love that.
Come back on that one.
Okay.
Anyway,
so getting the kids. The other thing the R stands for, and maybe we're reaching because I just threw that into myself, but nutrition. Because if you think about type 2 diabetes, which then ties to depression, obesity, all that stuff, to get kids out there and active, but also eating right.
Yeah.
So the whole concept about getting kids and mom and dad, right? They're taking a little more time to think about what they're putting in, because good energy in is good energy out, right? That's a whole
food is thy medicine.
Yeah. So STREAM, science, technology, recreation, engineering, arts, math. So imagine if that was blended into everything the kids did all day in school. Would that be cool?
Right. Yeah.
So we're all about trying to, especially with amazing female role models in science, and talking about how we can get some of the inner city kids and those minorities involved in all these great careers, because there's millions of careers out there. It's a question of the connection with the kids in the career path. But we're going to move on. That's on the Riptide platform. We're talking about that engagement, getting the community and everybody there. So a couple quick things.
Oh.
So thank you, Victor, for your hospitality. How about that?
Please.
So CUES, tell everybody about, because your path is, you were like an Apple guy in technology, and now you're doing all this cool stuff with virtual reality and 3D underwater with coral reefs. And we're going to have some special friends of yours at Riptide talking about coral reefs, female, great role models.
Amazing people.
Leak a little bit about what you're doing with that, because that's super cool.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously it's easy to Google these days. So, you can see my background, as I mentioned, growing up in New York, and was in front of the stage or camera and fell out and went to tech geek, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, here I am now. I have a studio, kind of got out of the corporate world a little bit and focused more on the arts, the A of that.
Kids acting and being
the kids
are.
I'm so proud of. Yeah, my kids.
Which is all content generation, kids engagement, getting those kids excited about things they're excited about. So keep going.
Absolutely,
Yep.
and that's what it boils down to. It's the engagement and something exciting. And so the studio here I opened was to start doing some documentaries. Finally got a few. It takes a little longer than you always you plan for that. Been here for a few years and. I have some great clients, some great stuff, and a few years back I started getting into virtual reality. So yeah, I was doing drone VR, virtual reality, AR, augmented reality, mixed reality. I could go all the panels I've been on that already. But yeah, the moral of the story is I have a partner in that business, Chris, and he and I got together and started working on some really unique technologies and how to stream VR and do all sorts of cool stuff. So that being said, that VR world has grown a lot, and it's open.
So literally a rainforest, a coral reef, you can get kids immersed. In any environment, like live in their mind. They're there.
Right? Oh, it's super.
So real, so cool.
I wish I could tell you some of the clients we're working with, but I'll tell you they're in the medical space because it's that powerful that physicians are using the technology now for pain management and other things and Alzheimer's. And
even like operating from they can be in another country and operate virtually with robots.
Right now they're streaming. I mean, I have an 8K camera sitting right to everybody.
Yeah.
Right behind that wave.
We
Forget
looking at all sorts
over
of
back there.
Yeah.
The technology is just moving so fast with this VR and AR and all that. And to be on the front of it is fabulous. And I was very blessed to find two women, very young women who are super smart, super talented, and get it. And they're leveraging that platform, the VR platform. They came to me and asked me to help them essentially produce a piece that was all around the coral. And we went down to the Keys, and it was it's really impactful.
And I got a sneak peek, and this is super cool. So at Riptide, we're going to introduce some of your friends and feature these amazing female role models with this incredible stuff you've done. And depending on what they'll share,
they're amazing women. Yes,
what I saw was off the chain.
So it's really neat stuff. Yeah. So I'm very blessed. So I'm hidden here. I'm not moving to California anytime soon.
We're keeping you.
I'm staying. I love South
Florida.
Which
is the other issue about Florida. A lot of people leave. We want to keep people, especially that intellectual property here, and these smart people and the kids, not going off to get careers elsewhere. So, so moving through this. So on our dear friend Victor, you guys can see this beautiful shirt. And again, thanks to my dear friend Wyland, who was kind enough to donate this beautiful pelican and the artwork. So keysstrong.org, this next amazing guy we're about to introduce, John from FAU, which we'll get to in a second. What FAU and a lot of these amazing universities are doing are talking about resilient communities. So in our backyard, we are challenged with, let's just call it water, not politics. It's just, there's a lot of wet stuff going on, right? So whatever it is, it's just water, okay? But if you looked at the cycle of the season, when you looked at Harvey with the impact that it had on New Orleans, Houston. We went to New Orleans, we talked about that, but the Houston community with Harvey, and then when you talk about Irma and what happened in the Keys, and then Maria and what happened in Puerto Rico, if you take the politics out of the discussion, you just think about the impact that severe climate and climate change is having on communities, there's clearly a need for that discussion and for people to start talking proactively instead of reactively. So what Keys Strong is all about, and I'm very honored to be part of this organization, Elmira Lito from Samuel's House and Sandy Higgs from the Rotary down there, Spencer Slate, founder of the Rotary in Key Largo, Tom Callahan. There's been extraordinary people throughout the Keys, but this is so big that it's not one key, one mayor. So with all the mayors working together, we've set up keystrong.org, and as again, Wyland had donated this beautiful artwork. Can you show them this wonderful arm of yours? So our sponsors with Riptide at Scales, Matt, and these guys were amazing. So they came up, and actually this particular material that you're looking at is pretty silky, right? Pretty cool?
That's awesome.
This is all recycled water bottles. And it's UV protectant. So the volunteers who go out and help the people clearing the yards and all that don't get sunburned. And it's, as Matt says, antimicrobial. So that if you were to splash some fish guts or salsa or margaritas on this, whatever you're doing down in Key West,
nice.
That particular.
And this is all recycled.
Yeah, all recycled. So Key Strong, for those of you who want to support, we need volunteers. Obviously, we need money. It's all about the types of things that Tom Callahan, who's been with SOS forever and a real icon down there with, I think he has 8 or 9 warehouses in the Keys, from the airport in Miami with refrigeration, and then Homestead, Key Largo. Tom has set up this network. He works with about 35 organizations to make sure the homeless get fed, and nobody knows this better than him. And when it comes to
awesome.
the spiritual connection and counseling and support, Elmira and Sandy Higgs, you've got amazing people there working with the mayors to make a difference. So what Elmira says is people don't want a hand out, they want a hand up. So that the things that if you want to help out, go to keystrong.org. You can volunteer. You can donate goods and services. You can obviously donate money. But this is something we're super proud to be part of, and this will be a big piece of what we're doing on the road to Riptide. And our friends at Entercom, when it comes to Vaughn and Ashley O and Toast from the Shark and all the morning hosts and Doug Abernathy, the minute this all happened, they got in their cars, they drove down. Vaughn and Ashley arranged for 15,000 pounds of food.
Wow.
Tractor trailer, 22 pallets to come down to help the families out. So go Entercom. It's really about people who are stepping up and helping the families. 11,000 people lost their homes.
11,000.
Yeah. So when you talk about the impact of the Keys, what they want is for people to come down, enjoy the fishing, the diving. It's going to look a little tattered. Obviously, they've gone through all this, but they are all about people coming down, and it's that connection we have spiritually and emotionally with this beautiful place. They want you guys to get in your cars, come down, bring your family. You'll have a safe, wonderful, amazing weekend. But get on those fishing boats, get on those dive boats, get in those restaurants, have a margarita, whatever you're doing out there, to rent some bikes or rent some anything to do with water sports, jet skis. It's what really does help those families. They're really needing people to get down there and reboot that economic engine, which is tourism. So to that point, one of the guys that I'm a huge fan of who's on the phone right now, John. So John Renne, we want to introduce John. John, can you say hello to everybody? Can you hear us?
Oh man, we have so much to talk about. It's unbelievable all the stuff you're talking about. I got like something to tell you about every single thing you've said so far. I'm so excited.
Well, you and Dr. Colin Polsky, who is my dear friend, and I'm a huge fan of him, and Tony Abate, and of course President Kelly. You talk about a rock star in a university. And the beauty of what FAU represents, working closely with FIU and Nova and Broward College and you guys, if we look at the pride we have in South Florida, what an extraordinary, the intellectual property, these scientists, people moving the needle, transforming our city. So, John, thanks for joining us today. And I know you've got this cool event coming up, but before we get there, tell everybody about CUES and what you're doing with Dr. Polsky and Tony Abate and what you guys are actually involved in from the CUES standpoint.
Yeah. So thank you. So CUES, it's going to be it's about 45 years old. It was started by a guy named John DeGrove, who was the father of they call growth management. He started thinking about how do we balance urban growth with the environment and be able to live in harmony with nature. And he unfortunately, he passed away. Unfortunately, he lived a long life, but so I came to FAU a couple of years ago, and I took over CUES, and I'm excited to continue on in his legacy. And so we're working on some really cool things. And so let me
just ask you, because you're actually coming from, and we mentioned, I leaked this by accident before, you're coming out of New Orleans, right? There's a big connection between your history and the New Orleans community, everything they learned.
Yeah.
And you're bringing all that to South Florida through FAU. So just talk quickly about the connection you have with New Orleans and that community, because it's really exciting.
Yeah, I was a professor at the University of New Orleans for about 11 years before I came to Florida. I moved there 2 weeks before Hurricane Katrina, and I became an overnight expert in evacuation
The
and
hard way.
rebuilding, and
Yeah, you learned the hard
because
way.
Katrina was such a new experience for the United States that nobody really had the expertise, and we all learned from our experiences. And New Orleans is now such a vibrant, healthy community, and so much of that has gone into the lessons from the last decade. I think can hopefully inform places like South Florida and really the whole world for that matter about how are we going to address sea level rise. Last night I was with Jeff Goodell, who wrote The Water Will Come. He's a contributing editor for Rolling Stone, and he's now here at
Rock and
Miami
roll.
at the Miami
All right.
Book Fair, talking about his new book and about how we are going to experience significant sea level rise, in our lifetimes, and how are we gonna address that? And that's kind of what all these events are surrounding, because hurricanes are, the storm surge that we get are the forefronts of what, the water is going to come in with these big storm surges, but the sea's going to continue to rise, and we're going to have more and more impacts every year that goes by for the rest of our lives. So we got to find solutions.
And that's all about what you guys are doing. So let me just go. We have a little graphic about this event you guys have coming up on the screen. So, John, tell us what's about to happen, and our good friend Phil Purcell, who's hosting you guys, give everybody the invite. You go ahead and invite everyone to come, because it's a free event. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, we have a free event coming up the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, November 28th from 1 to 5 p.m. at the Marine Industries Association of South Florida. And it's called Lessons from Hurricane Irma. It's a summit. We're bringing together the brightest experts from around the country, colleagues of mine I've been working with, looking at what happened and what can we do better and how can we plan better for the future. Topics like evacuation, sheltering, living, without electricity afterwards. We have, so this is a free event. We just ask that people go to the website and register so we can have a head count for food purposes, and we'll have a nice reception afterwards.
Did we hear that there's actually free food as well, John?
Free food and a free reception afterwards with
about
alcohol.
That?
Free alcohol too.
At
really?
Tarpon Bend, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be great. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a great spot.
So this is so cool what's happening in Fort Lauderdale with these types of events, and John and FAU and putting those together. So I've got the information here on the screen, John, in terms of where it is. So Phil is hosting our dear friends at Marine Industries at their location right there in Lauderdale, right?
Yeah, right there in downtown Fort Lauderdale on the river. It's going to be a great event. We've got one of our keynote speakers is Brian Wolshon. He was recently on the Discovery Channel, and he's quoted all the time, and the New York Times and all sorts of national publications. He's the foremost expert on evacuation. We had millions of people evacuate out of South Florida during Hurricane Irma. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to understand what went well, what could be improved. We're going to talk about pets. Some people don't want to evacuate because they have pets. So we've got the folks, a nonprofit organization representing pets, and what happens to pets during an evacuation. We've got folks, the mayor of Hollywood, Josh Levy, is going to be talking about the unfortunate tragedies that occurred at the nursing homes in Hollywood. So, we're gonna. This is not going to be a lighthearted event. We're going to really lift up our sleeves, and dig into these important topics, because the reality is that we may continue to have to deal with hurricanes, and it's a way of life in South Florida, and we're going to have to learn from these lessons and figure out how to do it better every time around.
So in terms of the website, because I have it up here as well. So if you go to CUES, CUES.fau.edu/events/Irma,
Yes.
You can actually find out more about the event. And the Eventbrite invite is, so again, this is free.
Wow.
Free food, free
and
booze.
I heard free booze too.
And some of the coolest speakers going from FAU hosting and really bringing all this to light. So if you go to that site, you can actually find out more. And then, Ryan, at the bottom of our Facebook Live feed, we're going to put the link for the Eventbrite if you guys want to RSVP. So that's what they do, John. They RSVP to come, right? At the bottom there?
Absolutely. Yeah, and we have speakers coming in from all over the country. We've got, I'm on the board of a nonprofit organization in New Orleans called evacuteer.org. And
how do you spell that? Evacuteer?
Evacuteer, EVACUTEER.org.
Cool. And Ryan, can we put that at the link as well? Evacuteer. One more time with the URL.
EVAC.
Yeah.
UTEER.org.
.org. Okay, great. Yeah.
Yep. And this organization, you're going to be blown away by this organization. It's a phenomenal organization. Now, I have to say that because I'm the president of the board, but it really is a phenomenal organization. Okay, so what this organization has done, and they've been highlighted
Johnny, you're a rock star. Go ahead.
CNN, New York Times. What this organization has done is they said, you know what? In New Orleans, we have a large population that don't own cars, and they need to evacuate when a hurricane comes. So that they worked with the city, and the city said, "Okay, let's design 16 pickup spots where we can send buses to and pick people up from their neighborhoods and bring them in, put them on coach buses, and send them to safety when needed." This organization said, "You know what? That's not good enough just to have a pickup spot. What we need to do is we need to go out and they did a national competition. They found a sculptor, and he sculpted this 15-foot high image of a person with their arm looks like they're hailing a taxi cab. It's really a beautiful piece of artwork, and they installed this artwork at these 16 locations, and they lit them up at night, and they worked with all sorts of national foundations to make that happen. And so now when there's a hurricane, the mayor gets on TV and he says, "Do you see this the statue that you probably don't know what it is? Well, that's where you go now. If you can't get a ride out, you go there, and the city will make sure that you get a ride out of town." So it's the first time really that the emergency management community
cool stuff.
And has worked with the arts community to really create a very logical solution. It's and they're going to come. They're going to talk about their work. They train about 400 volunteers. They call them evacuteers every year. So that way, when there's a mandatory evacuation called, all these young people go out and they assist all the people to be able to evacuate and get to safety. So that way, nobody's left behind.
That is so cool.
I was going to say, and they're bring it full circle. There it is with the art again. Mm-hmm. If it's the statue is supposed to sticking up a road sign saying, "Here's your evacuation." I'm sure that art has such an impactful moment to people when they pass it.
Engages and it's delightful and brings that sense of joy and connection.
So that's this was the brainchild of a dear friend of mine, Robert Fogarty, who is the founder and creative director of a company called Dear World. Check out his work. Dear World is the name of his company. What he does is he goes around when there's a disaster or whatever, and he has people take a Sharpie marker and they write a message on them, and he photographs them, and it basically allows these people who have been devastated. He did it with the Boston bombings. He's done it in Syria. He's done it with the Joplin tornadoes. And so he's a creative genius. He founded Dear World, and he founded Evacuteer. And what we want to do is we want to bring Evacuteer to South Florida. We want to bring it to Hawaii. We want to bring it to every community in between because it's a phenomenal opportunity to make sure that if there's a coastal community that experiences any kind of flooding, that we can bring people to safety, and nobody is left behind. If they're poor, they don't have a car, or if they're disabled, they should not be left behind because of their disability. So that's what the whole organization's all about.
What a great blend.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
So the art piece and getting back to, and thank you, John, for taking a moment here on the end of the day, Friday in the week, and we're so thrilled as always to support you.
I got one more thing that I want to talk to you about.
He's still coming.
He's
Bring it on,
going.
Johnny.
Right.
What else you got?
You
Okay.
brought up the augmented reality thing.
Yeah.
I want to tell you about a cool research project I'm doing that we need to work together
John,
on.
what do you got? What do you
talk
got?
about augmented reality.
Yeah, go ahead. We got Victor here.
I'm working with some colleagues of mine out of Chicago, and what we're doing is we're developing. So I'm going to do an experiment. We're going to go to some communities in Fort Lauderdale, and we're going to, because I do urban planning. I'm an urban planner. I go to communities. I say, well, how do you envision your community in the future? Mm-hmm. And in the case of sea level rise, we need to, in essence, warn people about this and get them to be a part of the solution and say, this is what your neighborhood may look like. And so we're going to use some phenomenal websites that the University of Florida created that shows exact, models of how much water they could have, but in 2 dimensions. It's a map. And what we're working with the folks in Chicago is we're going to develop this using the Microsoft HoloLens, and we're going to have a control group where we just show the 2D stuff, and then we're going to have a test group where we bring them in, we show them all the 2D stuff, and then we say, here, put these glasses on and look at what the water is going to be on your street.
Wow.
Washing up into your front yard, into your front door. Mm-hmm. And this is what it looks like in, say, 2100. Yeah. Maybe you won't be here, but your kids or your grandkids will be here. Yeah. So we're going to start using this augmented mixed reality to be able to show people the impacts of sea level rise.
So to visualize that, how powerful, right?
Like it's super. I've for those, not a lot of people have had on the HoloLens augmented reality glasses. I was in Russia a few months ago, and I had the chance, out of all places, to put them on and wear them. It's somewhere on one of my Instagram posts, and they're very impressive. The virtual reality, everything's a stepping stone. That's what I tell everybody in this VR world, AR, mixed reality. One of the things, it's like, I look back and when we had our big cell phone that came in a bag, a lot of people probably are too young to remember that, and a brick, and then it went to the tiny little micro one that got lost in your pocket. It was so small, and then now here we have a computer, and that's where VR and AR is. I hear it from people in the financial world. Well, is it a fad? Is it no? There's so many very powerful, impactful things, like, as you were just mentioning, put on these glasses. It's a great application for AR to be able to put it on, see your street, and then go, oh my God, it's 3 feet underwater, and watch the timeline. And that's really neat. So yeah, we'd love to work with you on projects.
And so if we ask really nice, maybe bring some toys to Riptide so everybody can see them with you and John firsthand.
I think we can pull something like that off. Actually, I'm so excited about the.
Why don't we just take the whole man cave and move it to Fort Lauderdale Beach, right? So for everybody, and Johnny, thank you so much, and Victor, we're all on the road to Riptide, this extraordinary special event. Intercom, our blessed partners, having us as their official charity. We're so grateful. Jimmy Tate and the Tate family, these visionaries, the icons here, literally moving the needle at this extraordinary facility. Bahia Mar, right across the street, one of the most beautiful beaches in the world. So we'll have 30,000 people dancing and enjoying and really delighting in the music and the beach and all the wonderful things that FAU and our other partners with Nova and other people will be there with UM. All these folks will be there, FIU, helping us to better understand where we're going as a community as we move the needle, literally to transform our community to one of the most extraordinary and probably the most impressive showcases in the world on how to get it right when it comes to resiliency. So thank you, Victor. Thank you, John. And John, one last time. So it's a week from Tuesday, right?
A week from Tuesday. It's the Tuesday after Thanksgiving.
Yep.
It's
at Marine
1
Industries.
to 5 p.m. Yep,
1 to
Marine
5.
Industries, 1 to 5 p.m. And it's a free event with food. So if you want to learn about lessons from Irma, please come. We'd love to have you.
Great. And
awesome.
Nobody knows that better than our dear friends in the Keys. So bless all those Elmira and Tom and Sandy and Mayor Craig Cates and Jim Mooney, all these mayors who've been really moving the needle with us. Thank you for joining us. And we will be live at Riptide, and we will remain on the way, on the road to Riptide. Thank you, Victor. Thank you, John.
Come see this awesome guy at Riptide.
We'll be live on Facebook all weekend from
maybe
the beach.
Right. Get down there so you can try some of this VR stuff.
And everybody enjoy the weekend in the meantime. Thank you for blessings for joining us. Thank you.
Great weekend.
Thank you, Ryan, in the background.
All
Let's
right.
see who's making it happen. Thank you, John.
Thanks
Bye,
again.
everybody. On the road to
Riptide.
Riptide.